Shabbat shalom. How are we all doing? It's good to be back. Although, I must tell you, it's been a cold, dark summer. I don't know whether the world is worse nowadays than it's been for a long time, or it just seems to us that way. But it's deeply demoralizing to see uninterrupted and unstopped acts of unmitigated and unspeakable cruelty. Honestly, we can't even comprehend it all. Boko Haram, Hamas, ISIS, and let's not forget Al-Qaeda, which suddenly seems tame now in comparison, just to show you how far we've fallen in the last few years. To see the onset of winter in the countries of the Arab Spring, and to know that this is a deep freeze that will last for decades, chilling the hopes of all those who yearn for liberty and peace, is deeply depressing. As we approach the High Holy Days, we struggle with evidence contradicting the great religious truths. It's hard to see the spirit of God nowadays in the world. Those who speak for the divine most fervently seem to be the most perverted, the most perverse, and the most blasphemous of all. If I were already not a believer, if I were not already a believer, I would be tempted to say, if this is God, I am an atheist. Even conscience has been muted. The world is silent to suffering. We are overwhelmed by the sheer number and the nature of this bestial brutality. I'm reminded of Dostoevsky's profound passage in The Brothers Karamazov. People sometimes talk about man's bestial cruelty, he wrote. But that is being terribly unjust and offensive to the beasts. A beast can never be as cruel as a human being. So artistically, so picturesquely cruel. The tiger simply gnaws and tears, and that is the only thing it knows. It would never enter its head to nail people to fences by their ears and leave them hanging overnight. At the very end of this week's Torah portion, Kitei Tzei, we read of the following. Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey after you left Egypt, how undeterred by fear of God, he surprised you on the march when you were famished and weary, and he cut down all the stragglers in the rear. Therefore, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek. Do not forget. Among the many problems that have baffled Jewish commentators through the ages was this central one. Of all of the nations that tried to destroy the Jews in biblical and post-biblical times, the only nation where we are commanded to destroy and obliterate even the memory is of Amalek. Why? What did they do to cause even God to vow eternal war? Our tradition understood this passage not as a command to destroy any one nation. We call that genocide. And from the beginning, Judaism was utterly opposed to killing the innocent along with the guilty. Abraham argued with God over this precise matter regarding the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Will not the judge of all the earth deal justly and kill the innocent along with the guilty? Rather, the rabbis considered Amalek not a specific nation, but the archetype of evil. And they focused on what they considered the key phrase. Velo Yar'eh Elohim. Amalek did not fear God. This absence of God-fearing is what led to atrocity and depravity. And the fascinating thing is that even the sages of old considered this phrase, God-fearing, not only in what we may call today religious terms. Rather, it was understood to imply a certain mindset lacking all respect for all that God represents: freedom, humanity, compassion, love. The sages emphasized that by not fearing God, Amalek had no fear of consequences whatsoever. The only force to respect was power. They had no fear of any higher power, nothing that gave them pause or restricted their behavior. They had no respect for justice, law, rights, mercy that droppeth as gentle rain from the heavens. Evil is committed when there is no impediment, no restraint, no harness, no shackles that prevent baser human impulses from emerging. There is no shield, no protection from our worst selves. When there is nothing to hold us back from ourselves, whether fear of God or fear of law, of morals, punishment, or anything else, when there is no fear of any higher authority beyond ourselves, people terrorize, kill, maim, kidnap, rape, behead, and crucify with impunity. Think about it. Basically, we are good people. We try to do the right thing most of the time. We have a sense of the moral that we have all been taught since childhood. But think about how even you might behave and how your behavior might change if you knew for certain that you would never be caught, that there would be no consequence whatsoever to any act that you committed, that there was no fear in you, that you were not subservient to any higher claim. In the Odyssey, Homer wrote, servants, when their masters are no longer there to order them about, have little will to do their duties as they should. Amalek attacked for reasons that have nothing to do with self-defense or even national interests. The Israelites did not enter or invade their territory. They were simply passing by on the way to somewhere else. They were attacked because they could be attacked. They were weak and famished from the journey. There's only one law in the jungle: power. The strong devour the weak, and the weakest are attacked first. For the sages, Amalek represented those who were so wantonly evil that they are beyond the pale, beyond reason, beyond reconciliation. They needed to be confronted and fought. The rabbis understood that some forces could not be ignored, and some forces could not be appeased. And this lesson is relevant not only for that time, but also for our time and for all times. We are waging a perpetual and unfinished war. It never ends. We have never defeated Amalek because Amalek resides inside of us. We are fighting with our very essence. That impulse to cast aside fear, call it fear of God or fear of violating some inviolable moral standard. Most people understand that they cannot do whatever they want to do, even if they can do it. They are restrained by an inner voice that warns them Don't go there. Even if no one will sanction you, even if no one will ever find out, don't go there. This is what God-fearing meant to the rabbis. Don't go there. But when people are undeterred by higher claims, when they grant themselves free rein to do whatever is in their power to do, they sink to such levels of human depravity that the only response is to confront them and to wage war upon them. We are commanded not only to love the good, but to hate the bad. According to the sages, Amaleki evil cannot be ignored. We ignored it at our peril. It will be wreaked on the weak first, but it will not stop there. It seeks to devour every living thing it can consume. That is the nature of ravenous power. It seeks more and more. It is a beast that is always hungry and is never satisfied. The Bible urges us to confront this beast. If you wait too long, it will be too late. You might fight it when it reemerges in your day. Destroy not a people, but an ideology advanced by some people that is contrary to every human aspiration. That so many of the headline-grabbing atrocities today are perpetrated by those who claim to be acting in the name of God should not distract us. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Of all bad men, religious bad men are the worst. They are the worst because they seek to validate immorality and whitewash inhumanity. A murder becomes a noble jihad. The world is turned upside down through an unholy inversion of values. Cruel is kind, killing is compassion, and sin is salvation." It's possible to be religious, is it? And to act so irreligiously, is that possible? Is it possible to even imagine the mindset of those who claim to be acting in the name of God? Such godly behavior. If religion is for anything, it stands for life. The key insight of religion is the insistence upon the distinctiveness of the human creature. All were created by God. We alone were created in the image of God. Every religious principle flows from this axiom. Reverence for life is religion's primary preoccupation. The sanctity of life is the fundamental religious principle. Our age has produced wolves in sheep's clothing. Savage and cunning, they cry, "Peace, but let loose the dogs of war." They claim virtue, but vice is their ally. They postulate goodness, but are zealous for all that is vile. They consider themselves demigods, bestriding the narrow world like modern-day Goliaths, their swords dripping with blood. You see pictures of beheadings, burnings, bombings, and knifings, and you ask yourself, from what dark place did this emerge? They are apostates, idolaters. The Bible gives us an example of heroism inspired by true faith. When Pharaoh decreed the genocide of the Israelites, he ordered the midwives to kill all the male babies. When you deliver the Hebrew women, if it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. But the Bible tells us that the midwives did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. Vatechayena et hayeladim. But the midwives let the boys live because, the Bible states, the fear of God was upon them.